Coming up on this season preview, powered by PointsBet, we are up to the Port Adelaide Power. Geez, we're bullish on Jason Horne-Francis this year. God, we love Zach Butters. Das.
Jev, Horne-Francis was unbelievable the other night. Could definitely win the Brownlow, Jev. We've got some really good price points in here. You guys know where to find us at 100K Sports. Like and subscribe. You guys can find us on Apple, Spotify and YouTube. Like and share this. It really helps out the pod, especially if you are a Port Adelaide fan. Let us know what you think. Give us your honest thoughts and comments in the comments because we didn't miss Jev. I don't think we missed the power.
Oh no. We got the power to win.
The power to
Welcome back to the 100K season previews powered by PointsBet. Today we are up to the Port Adelaide Power. Joining me as always, Darcy Ballard Dobe. How are you, brother?
Can the pair? Jev, we're up to the power. Yes, we are. I'm good, mate. I'm good. So we're powering through these teams, no pun intended. So we're up to Port Adelaide. Jev, there's a bit of news been going on. I'm actually really excited to get into them. I feel they've been shit canned all off season. They've lost some players. They've been really good still 3 out of the last 4 seasons. They've still got most of their players there, but yeah, I'm interested to see where we both think this side is at. Jev, last year, finishing 16-7, so second on the ladder, and then obviously had the first final. They lost. They beat the Hawks in what was, as I said, if it was through any stage of the year last year, would have been great as one of the best games of the year. The fact that it's a final made it even better. And then obviously that was their grand final because they ran out of legs. They got absolutely steamrolled by the Swans, and then that's how they finished up. But as I said, still finishing second on the ladder, Jev. If you listen to the North Melbourne preview just gone, they've won 15 games in the last 5 years. So Port Adelaide won 16 last year. So they've won more than North. So wherever we look at this side, you still got to give them credit. They're still winning games. It's so tough to win in this league. So, yeah, I'm excited to get into it, Jev. We always start off first question. Competition A-graders, who do you have at Port Adelaide? I reckon we'll probably be pretty similar on this one. Who did you have?
I got 2, Das. Zach Butters, everyone's second favourite footballer. We all love him that much. He's a freak. I'm that pumped to watch him this year. I just hope he can stay healthy for the whole year. One of his problems is he's so tough. He plays through injuries and then gets criticised for playing through injuries because he doesn't play that well. Remember last year he had the buggered ribs. He hurt himself in the final game against Freo. I just want to see him at his best, his healthiest, when he's just a freak. That bloke that went 7 games in a row of 10 coaches' votes in 2023, Zach Butters. The bloke that was kicking 2-3 goals from the midfield. We all love that Zach Butters. So I'll start with Zach Butters. Das, do you agree you got Zach Butters?
100%. 2-time All-Australian the last 2 seasons. He's won the last 2 best and fairest. The last 2 most courageous player in the AFL. He won the Lou Richards Medal in 2023, where usually we get to the end of the season, there's obviously the Brownlow, the Lou Richards Medal, the MVP, the Coaches Award. I feel any of those 4 or 5, I'm pretty sure there's another one that I've forgotten, but they're all if you're winning one of those, you've done something extremely well. He's won the last 2 best and fairest, and also, Jev, he's the most fine player in AFL history. He's got that absolute mongrel in him, doesn't he? He plays on the edge. He doesn't care. I can't remember what they said he's been fined. It's 50, 60,000 or something.
It's more than Toby Green, which is unbelievable.
He just talks back. But I love it.
He'll just punch you in the throat if you're fucking around.
I love him. I love how much he plays on the edge. He'd be a top 3 favorite player for me. I just love how he plays. He's tough. Tries to smother. You watch that last game against Fremantle last year, Jev, when they had to win for the Blues to come, how hard he comes off the line for he's like a kamikaze, 15, 20 meters, no regard for his body, and just smashes blokes and gets back up. I love how he dances in and out. He's different to other players. I love how he plays. As you said, he's your second favorite player. Everyone in the league loves him.
Supporter base would just love him in their side. You just love him playing for the Blues or playing for the Swans. Love it. And then I reckon Jason Horne-Francis is a competition A-grader, Das. From this year onwards, he looks like he's going to average 20 to 25 touches and kick 30-plus goals this year. So he's 21, turning 22 in the middle of the year this year. So let's say His age 21 year in 2024, he averaged 21 touches and 1.1 goal for the season. I went back and looked at Pat Dangerfield's 21-year-old season in 2011. He averaged 17 touches and a goal. Then Danger's age 22 season, he jumped to averaging 27 touches and a goal. He came sixth in the Brownlow with 23 votes. So is that the trajectory we're looking for Jason Horne-Francis this year? He had 19 Brownlow votes in 2024. I can actually see 24 touches and 30 plus goals. He looks like he's in for a huge year. Jason Horne-Francis is a competition A-grader, Das.
100%. That's an awesome comparison as well. I love the Dangerfield. I know we've always said the body type, but to actually have the stats, like to look it up like that, that's awesome. When he plays, he has Brownlow written all over him. He's like Nathan Buckley and Pat Dangerfield, and it feels like that now he's back home because first impressions do last. We went to go watch Giants North Melbourne and we said this kid is just toys out of the cot, didn't want to be there. It was one of the most uninspiring performances by a player that I've ever seen. Either that or Fev against the Saints. We had to go play in the back line and he cracked the shits. But Horne-Francis was dragging his feet around and it looks so shit. But his clearance work is incredible. I actually like that sometimes he doesn't always go onto his left. He trusts his right foot so much. Those inside-out drop punts. Last night, obviously, we just came off the end of the Indigenous game, and he was same thing, bursting away from stoppages. His first 10 to 20 metres is incredible. I think there's only a few players that can kick so purely on the run, and for mine, it's him and Nick Dacos.
Yeah.
You watch Nick Dacos when he bursts away from stoppages, and he's still able to get a good drop punt off him and Lachie Neale as well. Lachie Neale's incredible at that, but yeah, he's 100% a competition A-grader. You can't tell me aside that he's not starting in forward or midfield.
And I know every player tries it, and we love it with every player. We love when we see Heaney or Chad Warner out of the goal square. We're here and we're going to see Newcombe out of the goal square. We love seeing Bont out of the goal square when they go rest forward. Does he look like he's going to be the best resting midfielder out of the square? There's a world where he looks like 100%. He's going to be remember when Danger kicked 4 goals 3 in that semi-final against the Swans, and he took Dane Rampy to school? Does he look like he's on that trajectory? Yeah, I'm super bullish on Jason Horne-Francis this year.
We'll get into it a little bit later, but Jev, same thing. If he's one of those players, you put it anywhere near him, one-on-one, you're going to back him. If he clears out the 50, Dusty, you do the same. Danger, you do the same.
Yeah.
Any of those big key players, you put him down there, and he wants the moment. Yeah. He absolutely wants it. So, I love it.
That's the next thing. As you just said, the first impressions last. Is he still that guy that drops the bottom lip and mopes his feet around, or is he just a total different grown-up player now? That's what we're going to see this year, and that's how he's going to be judged this year. No more cracking the shits. Just
as weird as it sounds, it depends. When you're same thing. When you're in a shit North Melbourne side, maybe it's hard to get inspired by the other guys.
Yeah,
I think now he's in a better side with Butters and Rosa, even though they're on the same age. But I think him doing this Indigenous All-Stars team would be so good for his growth and leadership. All these guys that you've got some pretty incredible footballers in that side, and they humility. You look at Walters, Brad Hill, the guys that have been around for a long time, Callum Archie, even just rubbing shoulders with these guys that you'd probably never get the opportunity to. I can even that in itself, because they do the camp together. You with Eddie Betts, all the Burgoynes, and they seem to do a lot with that as well. And it seemed to be a pretty big camp. So I definitely reckon that would help him grow up as well. But Jeff, sky's the limit. He's only 21 years old. We could talk about him all day.
So that's it for competition A graders, just the 2. We agreed on the 2. Yeah. So let's get into position A graders. Who have you got down to position A graders?
It's got to be Connor Rozee, Jev. He's a gun. He's a 2-time All-Australian. He's the captain. And he's also had, there's something about when you get to see things live. And he had one of the best first halves I've literally ever seen. What was it, 18-3 against the Bombers at Gather Round? We were sitting there on the hill and we're just this is unbelievable. Yeah. He's a lot taller than he looks on TV, and he's goddamn a lot quicker. He moves so smoothly, doesn't he? So he's definitely a position A grader, whether it be midfield, forward. He's a gun. He's an absolute gun. He'll start in any side, but I've only just got him, Jev.
I basically wrote the same Connor Rosie, the captain, he's still a stud. He's just a tier below the competition's absolute best midfield. It's just a little bit below. But that game at Gather Round against the Bombers last year, when he had 3 at halftime, with 3 goals, 2 and 36 touches, was something special. He also had a monster game and a big win against the Dogs when he had 36 and 1 goal too. But apart from that, he was just good last year. He wasn't great. He was just good. He was great in a couple of games, but I thought he was just good for the season. I just a tier below the absolute competition A graders and definitely a position A grader. Definitely needs a better season this year. I've got Lear, still an A-grade defender. I know the Swans put effort into him in that prelim final. They put Luke Parker in. They didn't let him wreck the game. He can still be an absolute game ruiner.
Yeah.
He's a footballer. If you let him loose or you don't have the right matchup, he just marks everything. So I put a Lear in there. And then is Willie Rioli an A-grade small forward? Is he just a tier below the best of the best? He can kick goals like he is, but I think he might be just a tier below. Same as Mitch Georgiadis. Is he an A-grade key forward or just like that little bit below the best, sort of like a B-grade position player? And then they've added Jack Lukosius. Will he be an A-grade general forward? He has a 40-goal season written all over him. He kicked 23 goals in 2024, but he kicked 39 in 2023. Is that what Port are getting? 2023, Jack Lukosius. So I wanted to give those guys a little bit of love as they're probably a bit better than notable role players, but when it comes to position A graders in the comp, maybe they're not that.
Yeah, and as well, we got to remember, Rosie was heavily injured and then made to come back. So how you mentioned with Zach Butters earlier,
yeah,
almost don't want to criticize him because he was playing so injured.
That's right. He came back for that showdown when he shouldn't have. That's right. Yeah. He had a hammy or whatever it was, and then they forced him in for the showdown. I remember that.
Exactly. I had Lear as a position A grade last year when we did our last previews. Probably just as you said, for me, they're all just under. But if you argue the other way, I wouldn't disagree. You can see why they've been there before.
Yeah.
But if we're going into this season judging how they just went off last season, that's all I'm judging them on. Notable role players, Jev. This is a team that's been pretty successful the last 4 years, and you can't be up near the top echelon of the league in the AFL if you don't have good role players. Who are a few guys? Hey, there's a guy here I think we're both going to mention. He's first team all role player. Who do you have?
Yeah, I'm going to give love to this bloke, and he's so stiff not to be a position A grader because he's that good as a notable role player. That's Darcy Byrne-Jones. He's bloody good at what he does for Port Adelaide. Played every game, kicked 28 goals as someone who watches dangerous halfbacks. He can make you pay if you don't know where he is. He's an ultimate role player for winning footy. He's the ultimate team man. You'd absolutely love to play for him. I'm sure Port supporters just absolutely love him. So I'm going Darcy Byrne-Jones first. Ask who'd you go?
Yeah, he's in there. I've got Willem Drew, Jev. He's not... I've got Morgs in there. He's not all the bells and whistles. He's won a few medals, though. He won a showdown medal that I think Rankin, you had money on that probably should have won. He's an absolute role player. This guy, I think people forget, he's my dad's favourite player, Sam Bell Pepper. He loves the bell pepper. He kicks you to a goal or two a game. He puts his head over it, 15 touches. He's tough. I really think that they missed that tougher edge forward last year. He's not as classy, definitely not as a Horne-Francis, but he can lock the ball in there, get repeat stoppages, and he does make things happen, whether it's a knock-on, and the team does flourish from it. So I've got those two in there as well. Did you have anyone else?
Yeah, another guy who has all the potential in the world is Jace Burgoyne-Das. He had an all-time semi-final against the Hawks. He had 25 touches and a goal. He was great that night. From round 19 to the prelim final, he averaged 20 touches and kicked 4 goals over a 9-game stretch. I think in 2025, he'll look like what Nasiah Wanganeen-Malira looked like in 2024, where he really came to our attention for the Saints and started having big games in big moments that we all saw. So I reckon that's what Jace Burgoyne's going to look like in 2025.
Yeah, so pretty much to go on from that, because they lost Houston, and Darcy Byrne-Jones will play some half-back and some half-forward as well, but now we need these other guys. So I wrote Miles Bergman, Ryan Burton, and then Darcy Byrne-Jones to step up. So now you can allow Jace Burgoyne and Kane Farrell to run the show. Like they need to, whether they're up on the wings more and then one of them still on that half back line. Kane Farrell will probably play a little bit more half back. Jace Burgoyne a little bit more. Jace Burgoyne really needs to, well, for me, just still needs to work on his kicking. I don't reckon he's an elite ball user. I still think he shanks it around a little bit, but 100% big year last year. We want to see the improvement, but Kane Farrell, hey, he has to run the show. He's got a bullet of a left boot, right boot. He can kick it like 80 metres. So same thing. You need Bergman, Burton, and Darcy Byrne-Jones to be the role players and let those two shine. Let those two be the escape artists from the back line coming forward.
I did write down here, apart from that, they do have a list with a heap of role players. Asava Radagalea, Ollie Wines, Trav Boak play a role. Kane Farrell has a booming leg. We love Jeremy Finlayson. Miles Bergman can play. Willem Drew's a good footballer. Lockie Jones, more guys like this. They actually win a lot of football games by their cobblers cobbling and their superstars being superstars. They'll welcome back your man, your dad's man, Sam Powell Pepper, the Bell Pepper this year. So they've got guys. They do have the role players. So, yeah.
No, I love it. Jev, young guns. Is there any young kids?
This is a bit of a question mark with Port Adelaide, don't you reckon? Have they got any 18, 19, 20-year-olds that really, really excite you? They drafted Joe Berry, who was apparently the best small forward in the draft, and they've given him number 5. So they must rate him. I heard Chad Corns on SEN with Kane Corns, and they had super high raps on the young kid. So I think we're going to see a bit of him this year. But apart from that, it's sort of like they gave up their first-round picks to get Horne-Francis. So we don't see many kids younger than Horne in their starting side. So we might see an injection of Joe Berry this year. Who do you write down for young guns, Dars?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just going to touch on the small young Joe Berry. As you said, Isaac Kako was pretty much part of the academy, so he was always going to go to Essendon, I feel, either way. But Joe Berry, same thing. I haven't really, I've watched some highlights, and obviously the highlights make you look really good, but I think if you're a good young small, when you come in, you make an impact. I watched the Bulldogs Bombers game the other day, and Kako was so lively. Like, if you've got someone that's just got a few tricks and they're clean, it helps the team so much. So him and Willie Rioli could probably be really dangerous. When you watch Nick Watson come into the Hawks, first half of the year was a little bit scratchy, but then once they get going, it's like, oh, he can actually bring a lot to this side. You look at a young Eddie Betts, how many times when we had him, Garlett and Yaron, when they were flying and just getting front and centers, Silrioli, Stephen Milne, when these guys actually get going, they just keep it inside the 50 and they just make opportunities. So I'm really excited to see him. They also got Joe Richards, wasn't it, from Collingwood?
Yeah.
So he's there, but same thing. He played a little bit of half forward when he came on for the Pies. Where they're going to play him, I've got no idea. I don't know what they have in stalls, but yeah, I agree. There's not too many heap of young kids coming through. We just had the North Melbourne preview. They've got 1 million young kids. So, as you said, they're a little bit more of a mature list. And, I feel like they're just going to roll out the same team sort of again and just see how they go with it.
Yeah. Depth, what did you write down for depth?
Yeah, look, the forward line scares me, Jev. It really does. So you got Dixon gone. We mentioned he saw that they had to do a 2K time trial again, and he just said post-Christmas, he said, I'm hanging them up.
Apparently Ken Hinkley beat him in the 2K time trial.
He just said, I've had enough. Todd Marshall's done. His body's just cooked, Jev. So you've got the 2 key pillars. So now you're relying on Mitch Georgiades, who's in and out of the side every couple of weeks, whether he's suspended, whether he's injured. We love him when he's playing. They've got Jack Lukosius, who I said at the time of the trade, I think it's actually a good fit for him, and it looks like it's perfect now with Todd Marshall down and Dixon, so you can be the number one. But who's your other guy? Is it Asava Radigalea? Then, are we going to get another A-grade season from Willie Rioli? Because he looks like he's in and out. Joe Richards, I hope he can become the player. But we mentioned it before. I actually think that their best bet is just to play Horne-Francis one out. Literally, I just think that's their best role. If he's in the midfield, you have Georgiades and you have Asava maybe deeper or Lukosius running around. But as soon as Horne-Francis wants to come down, just you guys push up the ground, make it a little bit more kick down the line because you got the tallers there. If you can get it to ground and then you get a quick ball inside 50, and he's so dangerous. I actually think he's their best forward.
Yeah.
What do you have about their depth? Because if they lose another big, like a Georgiades goes down, I think they're going to have to just rely on Jason Horne-Francis to carry the ship.
Yeah, so they've got the key back depth. They've got Asava, Alir, and our man Brandon Zerk-Thatcher. They've got the midfield depth with Butters, Rosie, Horne, then Wines, Drew, and Boak. They just don't have the key forward depth with Todd Marshall already going down. It's just Georgiades and then Logan Evans or Ollie Lord who are okay. But from what Chad Corns was saying on SEN with Kane Corns, they are looking to get smaller. And it might look like Mitch Georgiades, a bit more of a hybrid Jack Lukosius. Then it might be Willie Rioli and Sam Powell-Pepper. Then Joe Berry, the youngster, and Joe Richards, who they couldn't believe they got from Collingwood. Apparently he's training the house down. So I've been harsh on Port Adelaide on Insta because I don't think they're going to kick enough goals. But maybe we're going to see it looking a little different this year in the forward line. And then, this is an NBA thing, but if the Lakers or the Phoenix Suns are winning by 10 to 15 points, every shot from there on just basically goes to Durant because you're trying to hold your lead and it's the best shot. If they get, as you were just saying, if they get a lead this year, does Jason Horne-Francis just go sit in the forward line and you just can't stop him sort of thing? So if they're up by 4 goals, Butters and Rosie are on top in the midfield, Willem Drew's doing his role, are we just going to see Horne-Francis one out in the cube just kicking every goal that comes his way? Has he got a 7-goal game in him this year? We're so bullish on him in the forward line. So, yeah, I hear it's just going to – I reckon if they get smashed in the midfield, they're going to look like one of the worst forward lines in the comp. But if it's going their way and they're getting it in different and it might be coming in low or Georgiades bringing the ground, it'll look different, but they'll be effective. So they win a lot of games, Port Adelaide. You can't criticise them. They've got a good infrastructure. So, yeah.
And especially we've seen you can win a premiership with not an A-grade forward line. The Pies did it the other year. So as long as you've got the other pieces around and the supporting crew, it can be done. I do like that, Jev, if they're winning, but they have to be certain that they're on top to allow him to sit forward, because if it goes the other way, you might have 15 minutes where you're just wasting him. You're wasting
he's just sitting there.
An all-out player just to sit down. So it must only be for rest. Dark Horse All-Australian, Jev. I feel it's been a glazing show, but we might have the same person.
Yeah, but I don't really have a dark horse for Port Adelaide. I just like Butters at 250 or Horne-Francis at 350 on PointsBet. Are you sort of the same?
100%.
Yeah, I don't know if we're being harsh on Port. I don't know if Port Adelaide supporters will agree with us, but it's I can't see Lockie Jones off halfback making All-Australian, or maybe Kane Farrell off halfback. But I just look at their side, I go, for them to be good, it's Butters or it's Horne-Francis or it's Rosie in the All-Australian contention. It's their superstars being superstars. So, yeah, I don't think their small forwards are good enough to take over probably the 10 small forwards ahead of them who we all love. So, yeah, I just see Butters and Horne-Francis. I'm sure you agree. Coach Captain Das, what did you write down for Coach Captain?
Well, I've been saying the last 3 years, Jev, Ken's gone. He's gone. He's had a really good time. It's a bit of a weird one having a farewell tour. You always just think and I know if people are listening to this, you listen probably to a lot of other footy podcasts as well. I like how the Swans did it. I like that. Well, obviously John Longmire knew that it was his time. He's like, I'm done. Dean Cox is going to come in. But Ken obviously still thinks it's not selfishly, because he deserves it, because they've been a good side. He's like, I want one more crack at it.
Yeah.
So, look, when you're still winning that amount of games, it's like, hey, credit to you. But are you just another side that can just get there and not do anything with it? So I always thought that, and I know a lot of people probably have the same opinion, but Butters looks like the captain. But that's just me from watching it. I don't know what they're like inside the building. Connor Rozee had a probably better start of his career than Butters did, but Butters has come on late. But I just feel everyone looks at how courageous Butters is, which means he should be the captain. But maybe he can't talk to the group, and Connor Rozee can, and he can relate to the players a lot more. So I actually do like Rozee as a captain. I know Butters is vice captain, but they're pretty much both one and the same. Sometimes you look at the huddles and Butters does talk. So they obviously do use that together. But yeah, Ken, I just feel the time is for him to go. When we always talk about, you get probably about 10 years in footy. And if it's not after that, like if they don't win again, what message are you now rolling out to the group? Nah, hey, this is going to be different this year. It's like, why? We're rolling out the same game plan. Our forward line's the same. We've lost players. So sometimes you just need a new voice. So, yeah, as far as coach, I just think he's been awesome for them. He's run his race. But I do like Connor Rozee as captain. He seems like he's got the respect of the players, but I wouldn't put them up in like my top 10, definitely. What about you?
Yeah, this is a tough one because I think they've got the wrong captain and they've clearly got the wrong coach. We both agree that Zach Butters should be the captain of this side. And then Port have told us that Ken's not the guy and have given him 6 months' notice. The succession plan does not work because now it already feels like Josh Carr is the coach. If they go on a 3-game losing streak this year, how loud will it be? Like, does Ken just walk away and hand it to Carr if it's trouble? Like, it'll be so loud in Adelaide if you got Carr watching over Ken's shoulder when he's already the coach next year and all this. The exact same thing happened with Bucks and Mick Malthouse and Sam Mitchell and Clarko. It was not smooth. It ended in tears. So, yeah, they're right down the bottom of the list in coach captain going into 2025. It could be the absolute perfect scenario in 2026, but it's already noisy and weird going into this year. So, yeah, it's not great.
Well, I'm assuming Josh Carr's got his philosophy on footy and how he wants to play. So, are we still rolling out Ken's philosophy of footy? Or if it goes south, is Josh Carr, because he's in the meetings with the team, he's like, you know what, fuck it. Let's not listen to what he wants to do. This is what we're doing because I'm the coach next year. So I agree. It's just, there's no farewell tours in footy for coaching when you know, like, I get a player, like if you've still got it, you still got the juice, you can play. But when it's the whole team revolves around your philosophy and your game plan and your blueprint on how you want the boys to play, when the next guy is completely different, it just ripped the Band-Aid off. So, I think it's, as you said, if they lose the first few, it's going to get real loud, real ugly.
So loud.
You'll hear it from the fans. They'll just be like, get out.
He's already been booed at home before, Ken. So, and like you can already see it. So, at the Swans, Dean Cox has already put Tom McCartan forward in preseason, and he's already come out and said, he goes, as the assistant coach, I had a few ideas, but it's not till I got given the keys I actually try my ideas sort of thing. He's like, I was happy to be the assistant coach. He didn't know he was going to be the coach this year. It was until Horse stepped down, he stepped up. But now Josh Carr knows he's going to be the coach next year. So does he give his ideas now? And he goes, this is what I'm doing next year. Should we do it now? Or so it's just going to get messy. It's going to get ugly, and it could get ugly early. Strength of schedule, Das. I've written down a heap here. So what have you got for strength of schedule?
Well, I'll let you talk first, but what do you think their schedule ranking is? So if number one's the easiest and 18's the hardest, what do you think?
Nah, it's tough. I reckon like 16th.
Yeah, they got 17th. So they got the second hardest ranked schedule.
I can fucking tell. So,
what did you have written down?
So I'm giving them a L round one against the Pies on the G. They get the belt in that game every year, Das. Yep. Every year. We've been there the last 2 years and they got the belt. Then it's Richmond in Adelaide, Essendon at Marvel, St Kilda in Adelaide, then everyone's number one game on the whole schedule, the Hawks at Gather Round. So they can be on a 3-game win streak going into that Gather Round game and be 4-1 after Gather Round. But there's so many hard stretches. From round 9, they go Showdown, never easy, Cats at Adelaide Oval, Freo at Optus Stadium, GWS in Canberra, D's at Adelaide Oval, Swans at Adelaide Oval. I know they beat the Swans by 120 points there last year. Let's just say it's going to be a bit tougher. So that's a tough 6-game stretch. Will they go 4-2, 3-3, 2-4? Like, what will it look like? Then they also finish the year bloody tough. A Showdown, Geelong in Geelong, Dockers at Adelaide Oval, Carlton at Marvel, and then the Suns. Like, it's tough. It's so many tough stretches. Whenever they get an easy game, they get like 2 tough ones in a row. Did you sort of have the same thing?
Yeah, 100%. I try and look at the schedule before I recheck the rankings where they're at, and I just skim through. I'm like, yeah, shit. They've got the Hawks at home, as you said. They've got the Blues twice.
Yeah,
Geelong, Adelaide Oval, they're always good. They got the fact that they've got to go over to Perth, and then they go straight to Monica.
Yeah,
like that's tough.
Yeah,
the Blues, Brisbane. They've got the Hawks in Tassie, another showdown. Geelong at Geelong. Like
Yeah.
it's bloody tough.
Yeah,
It is
so
bloody
they get the Swans twice. That's tough. They get the Crows twice. That's never easy. It's very hard to go 2-0 in showdowns for a season. They get the Cats twice. That's tough. Freo twice and Gold Coast twice. Like that is hard. They are tough games.
And they've been a good side, but
yes,
this is going to test them.
Yes,
it's going to test them. Jev, in the gun, who do you have?
I'm going to go Connor Rosie, Das.
Here we go.
I reckon he's somewhere between the 25th and 40th best player in the comp. But at his best, he's like top 10. I want to see him consistently close the gap. Did he feel the pressure of being – did the pressure of being the captain get to him last year? Can he be the 18th best player in the comp for the whole season? What will he look like as a leader if they go on a 3-game losing streak and they're just hearing it from the fans, from Ken, and they're just under the pump? Like, will he chuck the whole club on his back? It's going to be good to watch. I just want to know if he can handle it all, because it's going to be a bloody tough year to be the captain of Port Adelaide this year. I want to know if he's the guy for the job. Does it affect his play? Can he just be – we all know he's like a top 20 player in the comp, but can we see it for the whole year? He has a whole year of it rather than just 4 extraordinary games. So I'm going Connor Rosie in the gun, Das. Who did you go?
Jeff, I've got the whole team in the gun. I've got the entire football club. So, yes, you've lost Houston, who's a 2-time All-Australian, but that is not an excuse, Jeb. Geelong lose Gary Ablett and go on to win another flag. You look at the Hawks, they lose Buddy Franklin, and then the Hawks win like another 2. So you can't tell me that you've just lost one player, because I'm pretty sure that we all put Gary Ablett and Buddy above Houston. But look, they've still got the makings of being a top 4 side. So I just want to know what they stand for. It's Ken's last year, as we mentioned before. Like, do you care? Like, you know that there's a new game plan coming. Are you sort of going to shit the bed, or are you going to ride it out? Because the Port fans don't forget. They don't forget that you had an all-time dogging. You had a home prelim final, and then the Dogs came and ran over you. Port fans don't forget. Week 1 of final, you finished top 4, and Geelong come into your building and absolutely wallop you by 84 points at home. So, yes, it's great to make finals, but the Port fans want more. They don't just want to win. They actually want to make it to a grand final. They want success. So, I've just got the whole team in. Like, you've just made top 4 again. 3 of the last 4 years, you've been a top 4 side, 16, 17 wins. Like, now you've only lost one player. It's Ken's last year. You have to be able to do it again. Like, you haven't lost that much. So I just want to see what they stand for, whether they're going to ride out Ken's last year, or it's just going to be an absolute implosion. They blow it up by round 8. Ken's out of the building. Carr comes in and takes over. I just think, we'll soon find out where the team lies, like whether they're any good or whether they're all out for this season. Yeah. Best bet on the board, Jev? Is there one that you have?
I'll give you the odds from PointsBet. So to win the Premiership, they're $19. To make the grand final, $8.50. Minor Premiership, $13. To make the top 4, $3. To make the top 8, $1.65. And least wins, 250 to 1. I don't like any of them. I don't like one of those bet stars. I'm looking at still, I would like a little more. $2.25 to miss the 8. If that was $3, I'd probably have a good look at it. But $2.25 to miss the 8. But my favourite bet is probably the $26 we're getting for Jason Horne-Francis to win the Brownlow Das. What is your best bet on the board?
That's all. I'll be tailing you in with that 26 to 1. I think he's got all the makings of a Brownlow medalist. Jeb, I will be taking them under 14.5 wins on PointsBet at $1.80. I think it is the absolute best bet on the board. That is equal top amount of games you can win with, I think Sydney are only 13 or Sydney 14.
We're 14 as well, yeah.
I was like 14, Brisbane and Hawthorn, and then Port Adelaide. They're not winning over 14 games this year.
I agree.
There is no way. Jeb, I've actually got them missing the 8 as well. So I will be taking that $2.55. Port fans, I love this jersey. Like, bring it back. I love Butters. We love Horne-Francis. I just don't think you guys are good around the edges anymore. I think you guys are going to be found out. The way Geelong smacked you guys and then the Swans did when it actually really mattered. Yes, you got a real young Hawks team that were coming up. They're on this roller coaster and like they still almost beat you. I think they're going to get found out, Jev, very, very quickly. They've lost too much firepower up forward. I'm taking the under as like my life bet. Nan, both my nans, called them up. Let's get this super out and let's load it up.
So what have you got their floor of wins? What is their floor of wins this year?
I still think 10, 11, and that's like they get a couple of more injuries, like a Butters Rosé goes down, and they're just like they're gone throughout the midfield. We never want any injuries. Like you always want every team, and I don't hope that. But if everything goes bad, they start losing these games. Ken's out the window, and it's just an absolute shit show. 10 wins, like the Bombers still won 11 last year. Like I'm talking absolute worst case scenario. 10-win side. What about you?
Yeah, I wrote the same thing. I can see a circus this year. Like, can we see a real drop-off and they turn to a 10, 11-win team? I can see it. And, yeah, it's got circus written all over it with this Ken thing. And it's either got circus or the last dance written all over it. And I don't see the last dance. I see a circus. I don't want to be harsh. What do you got their ceiling of wins at, Das? What is their ceiling?
13.
Ooh.
I've got them 13 wins, and they just scrape into the 8, and I'm wrong. I lose that bet, but they're still winning under 14 games, Jev. 14's a lot to win, and I feel they've overachieved the last few years. I don't think they're a fantastic side. They just keep winning, and I feel it's going to get found out this year. What about you?
Yeah, so they won 16 games and finished second in 2024. This is where I got to give Port Adelaide some love. So they won 16 games and finished second in 2024, 17 games and finished third in 23, 10 games and finished 11th in 2022, 17 games and finished second in 2021. Like, that is unbelievable. Are we seriously disrespecting Port Adelaide right now? Like, yes. Are we sure Freo are better than Port Adelaide? Port dog-walked them last year when it was the biggest game for Freo in 2 years and Port had nothing to play for. Das, I'd love for you to rank these midfielders 1 to 4. 1 being the best, 4 being the worst. Butters, Jason Horne-Francis, Caleb Serong, Andrew Brayshaw. What would your 1 to 4 be?
In my head, I think it's Butters, Serong, Horne-Francis, Brayshaw. If I'm selecting them all right now, and then under that, you go like Hayden Young after that. And
because I think Port would take their 2 guys every day of the week. So I reckon their ceiling is still 16 games again, because I feel like they do this every year. We think Ken's getting fired every year, this and that. So I still think their ceiling is 16 games.
No, I don't mind it. I think this is the year it falls off.
No, I do agree with you.
It's just as you said, this never works, does it? Like, no, it's not going to work. It's just an ultimate distraction. If they didn't say anything, and you say we'll figure out the coaching at the end of the year, and everyone can sort of speculate Josh Carr's that rather than announcing it, I just feel it's a shit show.
So their over-under is 14.5. You are taking the under as nearly the bet of the year. I am leaning under as well, like leaning heavily under. I just wouldn't touch the over with a 10-foot pole. So I am leaning under.
Well, so this is the thing.
It's a really good under bet because you've got to have some unders in there.
Yeah. So if you said top 4, you're winning at least 15 games. Yeah. So in my head, I had Freo, Hawthorn, Giants, Brisbane.
Yeah. So
that in my head for the top, that's the top 4. Do you think Port Adelaide are going to finish above any of them? And then the next run, like I didn't even mention the Swans, Jev.
It's got Swans better than them still.
Swans, Geelong, whether it's Carlton, whether it's Collingwood, whether it's the Bulldogs, whether it's one of these, like, you know what I mean? Like, we haven't even got to those sides yet. So I just don't see them finishing. So they're going to have to beat all of those to be in the top 4. And that's 15 wins. I just don't see them finishing above. I think it's the under lock of the millennium.
Yeah, I love it. So we got to give them some love, though. If we're putting on a multi and you're a mad Port Adelaide supporter, putting on a multi and you got to start with Port to make the 8 at $1.65. $1.65, they've finished second or third 3 of the last 4 years, and you're getting $1.65 from them just to make the 8. Let's build around that. Port to make the 8 at $1.65. What's your next bet?
Jason Horne-Francis, Jev, All-Australian. We think you can win the Brownlow, but All-Australian $3.50. I reckon that has to be in.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you go a second All-Australian, you go goal kicking.
Yeah, no, let's go Let's go Lukosius and Georgiades for 70 goals. 80?
40 each. 40 each. That's fair.
Yeah. We're going to juice it up a bit.
Yeah, 80. So Lukosius and Georgiades to combine for 80 goals. Jason Horne-Francis to make All-Australian and Port to make the 8 at $1.65. That's a great multi. If we can get these up. We've done a lot of pods without having one done yet, but we'll ask PointsBet soon, I promise.
100%. Jev?
But if you're a Port Adelaide supporter, you are getting on that one.
Port Adelaide fans, let us know what you reckon. If you reckon that we're just talking shit and you guys are still going to be good, like we've sort of given you backhanded compliments all pod. You're still a good, like your makings of your side, I still feel it's almost like when we spoke about Melbourne, if you haven't listened to Melbourne pod, like Melbourne still have good players.
We'll comment in the comments for this one.
They've done it. So, yeah, roast us if you think. We'll revisit this again when Port absolutely capitulate, but that's fine.
And we'll be there for Gather Round. Come and give us your honest thoughts. We love to hear them. We love to hear them. Just don't lose to Hawthorn on that Sunday night. Hey, good pod, Das. I'm sure we're going to comment for this one, but that is the Port Adelaide.
Love Butters.
What are you prepared to lose today? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.